Hello. This is our patron chat for March, and people will be trickling in as I expect. And if I sound funny, it's because I got a bunch of feelings on the side of my mouth, and they are numb still. Well, my mouth is numb. It is trying to hurt a little bit. So that's less than ideal. But besides that, besides me talking funky, hopefully we got people coming in here momentarily who will not talk funky, who will talk clearly, and can lead the charge for good conversation. That's my hope anyway. We had some good conversations, not by me, because I sound funny. Okay, that was a little enhanced, but we'll have those join and coming in. Otherwise, I'm going to take a second while they join to open up something else. I'm going to be working on a session running tonight, and I got to change it from being a lower level to a higher level game and fixing up the maps, which is tricky. It's Pathfinder, and there's a party of 3, so it's going to be a little harder. However, it's designed for levels 4 to 5. So even 3 level 8s can mop the floor with that challenge. Usually action economy goes in the favor of the more enemies. So we're going to double the enemies, double their stats, basically. Their hit points, their attack, their armor class, stuff like that. Just going to increase it in that direction. And I'll be working on that here while if you guys come and join. If not, I'll go about 15 minutes, and then I'll go and rest my mouth before the game this evening. Running games for Pathfinder is kind of mixed, I gotta say. Like, the role play is the same in every session and everything, but it got so many rules and so much that's required of keeping track of all this, and playing with people who know all the rules is kind of really irritating, because you kind of just want to do what I'm a little more casual in the approach, and then they say, no, this is rules and that rules, and they're not wrong for doing it. It's not wrong to say you should follow the rules. It's just kind of annoying. Hi, Victor.
Hello? Hello?
Hey, you coming in? I'm talking funny because I went to a dentist and got my teeth done.
I see.
So you're in charge of talking nice and pretty.
All right. Well, I guess you'll have to do the looking with the left eye for my part, because at work today I accidentally managed to get some dry ice in it, and that stung as well.
Yeah.
It was very unpleasant, let's put it like that. I'm not going to describe it in details.
I have no doubt. I've never had dry ice in my eye before.
Don't try it.
Agreed.
I can tell you that much.
I will not. You have my assurance.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm not sure why you would anyway, but yeah.
What do you use dry ice for?
Well, it's at work. I work at a place that is like it's like a grocery store, but it's all online with like home delivery.
Okay.
So when people order like freezer stuff, the stuff needs to stay cold. So you put in a bag of dry ice into those bags to make sure that the ice cream isn't goo when it arrives.
That makes sense. What are they supposed to do with it?
Well, what they're basically expected to do with the dry ice is to put it in the sink, open up the bag, and let it defrost.
Fair
and
enough.
You put it at the sink because there's an airflow through there, so the carbon dioxide fumes don't actually spread throughout the house.
I'm sure that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I've actually this might be an awkward transition, but while at work doing that, I've actually had the idea for a bit of a dungeon encounter thingy where the party would enter like a giant freezer place, and as they broke in, would have broken like the cooling system. So as the fight goes on, the room is filling up with carbon dioxide from the defrosting dry ice.
That would be pretty neat. I've actually am making an adventure right now that has to do with being really cold and freezing.
Oh, okay.
And I ran one. I played in one, and I ran one, and I'm going to run another one. How very fortuitous.
Yeah. A few things you need to know about dry ice is obviously it's not wet, but it's literally just a frozen gas. But also that I can't remember the exact temperature in like the American system, but it's 78 or 79 degrees Celsius negative.
Mm.
So yeah, when you touch it, your like sensory organs can't quite perceive exactly how cold it actually is. It's just sort of going, what is this? So yeah, you can touch it, but as long as you don't like squeeze on it or put too much pressure on it, you can still be okay, but you will get very cold very quickly. And surprisingly dry for something that looks like ice, because the cold actually like vaporizes the moisture, so to speak.
Mm.
So it like if you take a piece of dry ice and put it in a glass of water, basically turns into smoke.
Mm. But it's not smoke. It's the carbon dioxide coming.
Yeah, it's the carbon dioxide freezing, going out and bringing with it water particles that freeze in the process.
It creates a silvery wind.
Hello.
Hello.
Greetings, welcome.
And to answer that question, I suppose you could define it as such, but it's more like white.
I said that because our new friend here is named Silverwind.
Yeah, I know.
Hello.
I don't think we've heard your voice before, but very, very prevalent. Greetings.
Yep, first time I've ever done anything on the channel. Well, in voice.
My voice is funny because my mouth is numb from dental work, but that means you guys got to talk a lot more because I sound showy. Hope we don't mind.
Yeah, basically me and Andrew was on the topic of really cold things like dry ice, because I've had an encounter with dry ice that ended with me getting some in my eye today.
You think that wouldn't be quite as bad because it would melt quickly, but dry ice comes in chips, doesn't it? And
yeah, the thing about dry ice is that the gas isn't exactly good for you. Well, it's carbon dioxide, but just pure carbon dioxide, and it's not good for you at all in any way, really. But I mean, with regular ice, it just sort of turns into moisture. But when dry ice defrosts, it sort of takes moisture away, because the coldness of the gas will freeze particles of the moisture that will be drawn along the gas, and thus less moisture is left when the gas leaves.
Not the best thing to get in your eye, then.
No, it was quite horrendous. Nothing permanent, though. It didn't last. The pain didn't last, but it was, yeah, quite the thing.
Pretty neat. How's it going, Silverwind? How's your gaming life?
Pretty good. I've got a week off this week from my regular in-person game, so that'll be fine. Plenty of time to plan stuff. But the last session had a bit of a problem.
What was that?
I was going to ask about that today, specifically about the charm person spell.
Uh-huh.
And exactly what effects you think you should be able to get out of making someone a friend, because that's a fairly vague and loosely defined term in the books.
Are you playing 3.5?
It's 5th edition.
5th edition. Okay. Yeah, the charm and the illusion spells are generally really vague and hard to really clearly interpret. It's kind of ends up being up to the DM in some cases, but yeah, I'll read in my awesome voice. Attempt to charm. Does so with advantage if you're fighting it. Charm creature regards you as a friendly acquaintance. The spell ends. The creature knows it was charmed by you. Lasts for an hour. So, what was the person trying to get done?
A bit of a difficult thing to make work, but basically we're using it on another person in the party. I'd included a magic item which was split in half, which was basically going to be my way to level the thing up, so to speak. So this player had half of it, but they'd died in a previous session, but made a pact with some people who resurrected him. But because of this, a different player ended up with the second half of the item. So then they had to try and find a way to put it together, and the person who had the first half used Charm Person on the other player to basically try and get her to give it over to him.
Oh, my first response is, yeah, you can't cast those spells on fellow players. That's not okay.
Mm.
They have to convince you, like anything like that. I don't usually allow that because it's not fun and it takes away from like the sense of group play in a group game to have somebody doing such a thing. So my first response would be, yeah, you need to try and convince him some other way. Why wouldn't he share it? Why would he hold on to it?
I'd also, if I may add a thing, I also feel like any sort of mind control effects towards another player is a vicious foul towards their own character's autonomy, and would not be acceptable in any way, as far as I can tell. I mean, unless you're literally playing some sort of a versus campaign or something.
Yeah.
No, he was playing a necromancer, but it was being quite a sort of like a sneaky person. He's got things going on under the table and whatnot.
So why wouldn't he just give it to the other guy, or why wouldn't they as a group together? All right, well we got the item now, so let's put it together, guys.
Well, basically they were just discussing over who would get the full item. One half had a magic missile in it, and the other half was a shield spell. When put together, you basically each side required an attunement slot, but when you put it back together, it would only take one.
Okay.
And they both wanted the item. So
talk about it.
After the incident, we essentially stopped playing for a half hour, and we just discussed this thing because it was causing problems.
Yeah.
This one person's character. So we decided to retire that character now, and the other person got the full magic item.
How did they feel about the retiring? Yeah.
Well, basically, after the character died, he'd taken out a debt with a big banking guild, and so after he died, they teleported his body back to them, and they resurrected him under the condition that he would act as a debt collector for them until he'd paid off the debt, and then he could continue working for them to buy a proper resurrection because he was technically undead. So when this happened, I gave the player the choice: do you want to roll up a new character, or would you like to role play this out? And he figured I'll give it a go at role playing it out. But since the character's been retired now, I've gone with my backup plan, where this character becomes an NPC.
Sounds a little rough. I would say
his next character is going to be an
Yeah.
enchantment wizard. So I figured it's worth asking about charm person.
Yeah, it's to me those spells are really meant to be used on NPCs and taking control, like one player taking control of another player, is really, I say, a no to that. I mean, unless it's been established in the campaign.
Hmm.
Oh, I should have posted this in the group. Okay, there it is. Yeah, the sense of group game and camaraderie and magic items and fighting over them is, you got to put it in check in some ways with, are you out this because you're here to get loot and level and those things, then you're going to get into fights a lot. Because you want to get all the loot, even if it's like only the most remotely related to you, if that's what you're out for. But if you're out for, let's have a fun time together, let me help out you, and when we work together to overcome this, then I don't really find much issue.
I mean, when it comes to loot, there's sorry if I ever talk over anyone, just tell me to stop. I won't be offended because I have a bad habit of starting to talk when other people do.
Oh, don't worry, it's kind of hard to plan that kind of things when you're on a handout.
Hmm. Go ahead. And welcome, Sarah.
Yeah, welcome. As for items, I mean, when you're in a party where you have one, I don't know, a warrior, a bard, and a druid or something, then usually you can like put the items. The items usually have a natural direction to go, so to speak. Natural person that they would fit best for. And in those situations, I mean, loot isn't usually as much of a discussion, but it's the more general stuff that can be more of a problem. Or when you have a party with a lot of similar characters in terms of like gear needs.
In this instance, it was a wand of magic missiles and a little gemstone that cast shield, the shield spell. And the two players were a wizard and a ranger. So both of them could benefit from the extra armor class and the ranged attack.
Well, let's throw it out to the. Oh, just Sebastian. Jack went away. And Sebastian, you count. We'll let you in here.
Yay!
We're having a discussion about the use of charm person on other players and its potency or not. And then
You mean
generally
a player charms another player? Or...
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, their character. Always fun
Yeah,
terminology, but
no.
have you encountered that in your games?
No, but we usually had the agreement not these kind of spells against other players.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it makes it complicated if you do this. Or it can make it complicated.
Yeah, not much in the spirit of group gaming. But yeah, how would you handle a conflict of items? Like I'll take an item of like a cloak of resistance that everybody could benefit from that. That's good for the whole party, and you have one of them. How do you sort out who gets it?
If you have something like armor class, I would usually say the guy that is mostly has the highest chance to getting something in his face.
But it's just +1 to all saves. It's not even clearly armor class. It's
Yeah, I mean there are I think there's basically maybe 3 ways to look at this. There's the question of like have this person is there anyone that hasn't received anything useful yet, or there's the question of has someone earned something extra, and there's also the question of what was the third one?
Who has the lowest saves in general? I would say.
Yeah, that too. Who would be in the most dire need of it?
Hmm.
And I mean that's really situational and up to person. I mean, no party could probably function perfectly well only following one of these three examples in every case. That just wouldn't work. There would be some snag at some point unless people are willing to just deal with it and move on and bite their tongue when things get weird.
I try and personalize gear and loot and not have it be such squabble over it, but then that beckons the question of, does that make sense? Does it make sense that they only ever find items that are specialized for just one of them? Does it make sense that a party is consisting only of people who don't have overlapping gear needs and whatnot? And I usually encourage that to be the case. I really don't like. That's why I say group diversity is not necessarily because you need it to quote beat the game or anything, but you need it because then you can all cheer on someone when they get something that's good for them, as opposed to, well, that sucks, I wanted it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's like if you have like World of Warcraft and you have like 3 people who have the same armor class and in a dungeon, and then something drops and everyone's like, I want it!
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
the only guy who doesn't have this class and gets something first, woo, I can have everything else.
yeah, I mean, like, let's just imagine, for example, if you have a party with three barbarians and a cleric or something, and then a +1 great axe drops. What happens? Or do you say that the person you just defeated somehow magically had 3 great axes on his back?
Right.
Maybe he was good.
Maybe
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, I suppose could always use the argument of what's it called again? The I forget the name of it. The pack which has like a pocket dimension in it.
bag of holding.
Yeah, you could always use the bag of holding argument for why someone was carrying more than makes sense, but you can only use that so many times before it's ridiculous, and every time the party gets a bag of holding, so what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Everyone gets one.
Yeah, one for you and one for you, and this begs a question that giving out just gold to go and spend on specifically what you want might be a good choice. But then it feels a bit, especially in 5e, which doesn't have clear magic item values, that's difficult to pull off. So usually what I end up doing is having, instead of you finding loot, more often than not, loot comes from like a reward from somebody, in which case everybody gets something related to them, or the whole party gets +1 whatever from this enchanted fountain, or the dragon breathes on you all and you all have cloaks of resistances now, or whatever. The whole party getting the stuff all at once, I find has saved a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 main problems with the only gold approach, and one of them is the whole calculations, of course. But there's also the fact of like it's so impersonal and so indirect. I mean, there has actually been, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's been like 1 or 2 MMOs that have tried the approach of, okay, dungeons don't actually drop gear, they drop they drop only like tokens and materials that anyone can use to make something that functions for them. But then people just feel like, oh, they don't never get the feeling of, yay, I won, I got the thing. Then they instead always feel, oh, I got another token. Great, 50 more to go.
Yay.
Extra Credits actually talked about that in one of their episodes. They called it the JC Penny effect. Basically, they were questioning whether it's better to get the nice, happy feeling of just finding a big, massive sword, whether or not you can even wield it or not, or whether it's better to get materials that everyone can use. Because one's much more practical and much more beneficial for everyone, but the other one just gives you a little special feeling.
Well, also the problem with only getting, say, gold is finding a place to spend it. If you
Oh
You know, travel somewhere and they don't just have regular armor or weapon shops. And I would like a magic weapon, but there's nowhere in 500 miles where they have a magic shop.
Yeah.
And I would say the that's a good point for the extra credits concept. But what they're talking about too is for like mass production, like a million, 8 million WoW players or 100,000 of whatever the MMO is. Your tabletop game is for 4 people or 5. You know, that's it. You don't have to do anything for anyone but those people, which can be tough, certainly, but it can also be much more personal, and I think the whole thing should be much more personal to that end.
Yeah, I feel that should really be the tagline when it comes to loot and reward and like material rewards, in that it should be personal. It should be something that either is like I forget his name, but in Fuss and Friends, Fuss still has that sword from the general that they defeated in like episode video number 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still there, and it has the inscription, and you still refer to it as the sword of General. What was it, Davian or something?
Right.
I remember it began with a D, the name, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, that just gives it so much more life to it all.
Mm-hmm. It's I got it. It's the sword of Captain Delvin, and what it also you got it right. This also, what I like to do is, instead of finding loot, to have opportunities for that heirloom sword or that thing that you start off with or that early on to get upgraded, to give things that anybody could utilize in different ways. Like, here's the sphere of upgrade, or whatever you want to do, or as a gift, I'll enchant your armor. Balls approved. You know, kind of, let me just boost what you have already, which maintains that sentimentality, an item to tell a story about. That it feels like, I started with. It's always so silly to me that, all right, my character inherited my family sword, and well, screw it, I got a +1 weapon now. Just toss it on the side of the road, like.
This is passed from generation to generation. Ooh, something magic.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So I definitely like to keep those things.
The heirloom stained with the heirloom with the signatures of my ancestors, +1.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestors, +1. Well, this one will get me through the next fight. This one will get me through an RP session.
You could keep them both. That's true.
Yeah, and then you get the question of whether your game considers the carry weight calculations and stuff. But yeah. Would you mind if I brought us in on a slightly different topic?
Sure.
Because I've been discussing with a friend about maybe starting up DMing a game of my own at some point, and a friend of mine suggested actually trying to use Tabletop Simulator for it.
Okay.
I don't know if any one of you have tried it, but it's basically a system where you can put together your own tabletop games, and I've actually found a thingy that is like a what's the word? Not a mod, but like like a DLC thingy, not one I paid for, but one. It's basically a mod, but where it has a pre-made setup where the entire table, where you have a DM side with the DM screen and dice and the tables and everything. The one thing I find that would probably be, well, admittedly I haven't figured out how to put it into the program yet, but I've seen the pictures. But yeah, there's that, and there's also the problem of you'd have to literally block by block in the program build together your own dungeons.
Mm.
But it would look very good, actually.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they do have a surprising variety of in-game models. Well, in-game models and stuff. Yeah, if you go to if you just start up a game, then you can click to open the RPG section. If you click single player, and then click the one that says RPG down in the lower row.
I played around with this. I mean, I have it. They sent me a copy, and it was kind of like really unintuitive and unclear, and I just ended up like throwing figures around on the board, and it didn't really seem like any kind of replacement for something like Roll20, where I can copy over my own maps, and but maybe I just
Yeah.
haven't played with it enough.
Yeah, I feel like I could get it. It could work, but you would have to do a fair. I feel like you'd have to do a fair bit more fiddling around with, like if you can put in different backgrounds and yeah, literally putting together the dungeons block by block as opposed to googling for an image. But I suppose you can. I suppose you can always build the exact dungeons you want then.
Well, apparently it doesn't even want to open.
Strange.
I personally, tabletop simulator is a cool thing, but it's best for preset things like I'll have like tons of board games in there that
Yeah.
you
yeah.
don't have like gets with something on your own.
Yeah, when you don't have to build a new board for every encounter, it's good.
Yeah, we last few days ago we started a session of Made RPG in this, and that is good because you just have one map usually for the entire thing, and you don't have to build everything. Every time you have to you are somewhere new, you have to build. You don't have to build something. If you would say if you're in a closed space, it's good to use this, but I would always prefer Roll20 for table RPGs.
Yeah,
I mean, go on.
I like the look of it, certainly, but this is just what I'm doing, like, because I couldn't figure out. I didn't want to build a dungeon like single tile by single tile when I could just copy an entire map. Like, there's tons and tons of maps. It just seems so tedious.
Yeah, I've sort of figured out how you can use it and sort of like stick the blocks together and form complete rooms and everything, and so on. But I mean, those are the only real blocks for a dungeon I can find. You can't. There's not like a cave option. It has potential, but it's quite limited, and it requires a bit of patience.
Yeah, like this block not going in its spot.
It's a bear. The bear's in its way.
Come on, you couldn't figure that out for me, game?
Yeah, scroll the wheel to turn the object sideways.
I have to hold with. Oh man, that's so awkward. I have to hold with one finger and scroll.
Yeah.
That should just be snapping to the grid automatically.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Honestly, yeah. There's a. I feel like, as stated, with tabletop simulators, there's a lot of potential, but it's also very fiddly, and you'd have to spend a lot of time making stuff. And also, I'm not sure if that dragon is to scale.
Can I scale it up and down? Probably not.
I think you can, but I think you can. I think at least you should be able to, but I cannot for the life of me figure out how.
Where's the dice? Aren't there dice?
Yeah, see, not in this set. I haven't. There is this. If you open up like I think in the lower corner or something, there's like a tab. The other side.
You can spawn dice,
yeah,
I think.
Where you can spawn objects, and I think the dice is in there somewhere.
Eh.
Yeah, that's one of the main advantages of tabletop simulator. You can flip the table without causing any damages.
I've never seen a table flip in real life. It seems like something I would have definitely not allowed, and
Of course not.
kick
of course
some
not.
people out before that ever gets to that point.
Yeah.
How do
If I ever actually do bother to make a proper session in uh, in a tabletop simulator, I might have to record it just so I can show you how it went.
Yeah, that'd be great.
How tedious it was to
Yeah.
build everything.
Yeah. And then you obviously whatever you build that is the most complex, the party is just going to blaze through and not even notice that special room you spent 40 minutes trying to get together because the pieces wouldn't fit.
Does it have fog of war? This like
That-
if you put a
that's an
secret room
issue
in it,
as
can
well.
you cover it up?
Yeah,
Well, you
that's an
can.
issue.
There's like secret. It's called secret zones where you can, like,
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, I forgot about those.
Hidden zone.
anyway. There's this, so people that aren't you can't see what's in there.
Yeah. Then you have to make and change and remove the hidden zones as well. But yeah, you can do a lot, but it's a lot of fiddling about. Of course, I'm not sure how you can handle fog of war elements or limited vision in Roll20 either. But I mean, you can mark and suggest and discuss and whatever to make it clear.
If
But
you're
you can
a pro
hide
user in
also.
Roll20, there's like dynamic lighting that you can add on to characters, so everything
Oh,
that isn't
yeah.
their field of view is blacked out.
Okay.
I'm not very great at that. It seems to not work right for me, the dynamic lighting. But for this, I was working on this earlier. I just found the map, I dragged it over, and yeah, it's not 3D, that is true. And then I just drag and drop portraits that I can find online. This doesn't seem to offer that the same way. Fog is there, and can set up like the different pages. I'm gonna go to this adventure and then this part and those things.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe it's just because I spent more time on this. If I started on Tabletop Simulator, then I guess I could probably feel more competent. But
I mean, there is the option to download dungeons and stuff that other people have already built. If you go to the Steam thingy, or if you go on Nexus Mods or something, you can find pre-made dungeons. But yeah, there's a limited selection, and there's also a limited array, very limited in terms of. As far as I know, there's only those stone like. This is a wine cellar kind of wall and floor available.
Secret Palpatine.
does look like there's some options here.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that actually exist on there that actually don't exist in physical form. They actually have. Someone actually made Pazak, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually got a Pazak table if you can find it online. It's not in the basic set, but you can download it or put it in somehow. For example, for example.
This seems, well, I don't know.
I do like how Tabletop Simulator handles cards actually. Because if you just hold the mouse, click on a deck and hold down the mouse, you can move the entire deck. And if you shake the deck about, you'd shuffle the cards, which is surprisingly satisfying when you have the noise sound effect.
Huh. Interesting. I guess I don't play a lot of card games. I think all the
I
big
to
card
see if
games
that can
already.
do Magic the Gathering, actually.
Well, isn't there
Yeah,
already that program?
Yeah, there are actually people who have started building Magic the Gathering and stuff in Tabletop Simulator. But I mean, there's a lot of cards. I have seen that there's one thing you could download. I think it was from Nexus Mods. That was 4 pre-made decks of Magic cards, and a setup for a 4-person game.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Better
So I
since
mean,
you don't
like,
have to program all the things that the cards can do. You just need to put an image in and then have that be able to be made bigger so you can read it, and then the people playing just do what the card says, as
yeah,
opposed to the online games where they have to try and program everything.
yeah. I mean that's the thing about tabletop simulator. There is endless possibilities, assuming you are willing to go through the process of making it yourself, or someone has made it already. Oh, you found Pazak?
Where am I playing?
You should there should be a portrait of your like icon.
Like, what is behind? Is this like?
Oh yeah, there's your icon. So that's your side of the board.
I meant
And
like,
then you're.
what is
And
this location that's in the background?
I believe that's some sort of a basement
Okay.
of like a public building or something.
That's where I want to play Pazak. That's
Yeah. Well, it wasn't always played in the fanciest of places, but yeah.
Street Pazak, where they gamble.
Street Pazak.
Yeah.
Man, I can just imagine.
Underprivileged teens meeting in the dark at night, underground in tunnels.
I could just imagine some sort of alternate universe where like gangsters are out playing Pazak instead of dice.
Brilliant.
Yeah, or like imagine like the CIA breaking down the door on a secret Magic the Gathering gambling ring.
South Park. South Park did exactly that.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard of that, but I didn't remember it.
Basically, these people train chickens to play Magic the Gathering, and then these underground, basically criminal dens bet on it and gamble.
Uh,
They take it far too seriously. It's hilarious.
Isn't this every South Park episode? They take it far too serious.
well, that's the thing. I mean, it's like that one episode where the police where there's a party going on and the police thinks it's a cult, and the police thinks it's a suicide cult, and they say that we have to go in there and save them, even if we have to kill every single one of them.
That's one of the older episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that I've failed to understand is fantasy grounds. This doesn't seem to be helpful either.
Never heard of it.
Well, that's another tabletop simulator and type of digital tabletop.
Hold on while we load using this Amiga.
So let's get dice you roll around. I guess there are PCs. I don't know. It didn't seem very intuitive either. But I guess you do have certain elements.
Now this looks like the £1 shop version of like Neverwinter Nights character creator.
Welcome to Fantasy Grounds. Basic unit. I mean, it's got tutorial, but I don't know. So this may be another option to play, but you'd have to learn it, and I can't help you with.
Yeah, and I must say it looks a lot less appealing than both Roll20 and Tabletop Simulator.
I guess there's a map, but now the map's covering up. Okay. Can I shrink it? No, maybe. Yeah, there
It
we go.
looks prettier than Roll20, but it looks like it'd be a lot harder to actually figure out how to use it properly.
Yeah, no grid, no systems assistance really, just yeah.
See, I've never been, and I know there's plenty of people who do make and enjoy like terrain and simulating the action and the adventuring to a very high degree. And I've done that for just like very, very occasionally. It doesn't seem necessary to me. It seems like it's getting closer to video game-ish, and in that case, why not play a video game that'll likely do that way better? But there's tons of like wargaming is very popular, and construction of custom terrain and whatnot is also pretty big. What have been your guys' experience of that?
In my group, I have a vinyl mat for the battleground. That's just a grid, and then I draw on that with a wet wiper, and then for wet marker, and then for characters, we actually use Lego figures, which are
That's cool.
really good. I've just got a big bag of figures that people can swap around, and then a big bag of accessories, which are just stuff like swords and capes and helmets and all sorts of fancy stuff. So if I was actually building terrain, I would either come in with a big flat Lego board and try and build something up, but given how long it would take, that'd probably be the sort of thing I'd have to do at home, and we game at the local library. So might be bringing a bag full of little mini terrain accessories, like a few pieces to represent something on the floor, like if it's wet or if it's icy. Maybe a couple of small walls that you could put in here or there.
Personally, I do kind of prefer theater of the mind in a way, but at the same time, there's only so much you can. There's only so many characters and environmental elements that you can keep in your mind at the same time. That's like that's like the only personal limiter for me for why I'd use why I'd use more like figures and stuff. But there's also the fact that others that I want to play with seem to like to use models.
Welcome, Steven. Greg, welcome. One of you has some. Oh, hearing. I think Greg, you get some feedback.
Yeah, feedback from you, Greg.
So we hear ourselves. That's not good.
I'll turn my audio off.
There we go. No, still there. Sometimes putting on headphones fixes that.
Yeah, okay. I'll be back in a minute.
Thank you.
I need to figure out how to leave. There we go.
Well, no, we usually don't. When I play with friends, we don't use anything at all. Maybe sometimes for fights to keep track of it, to see where everyone stands. But outside of fights, we don't use any kind of map or something like this.
Hmm.
Everyone what he prefers.
There's some games kind of demand it in certain ways, like require. To me, Pathfinder pretty well requires that you have a grid or a map or something to visualize and to make your steps and make your spells and all those things. 5e to a little less, and then some people just love. And even when I look at it, I realize, I'm not going to spend the money or the time to do that. But it looks kind of neat. Some of the terrain that is put together. I don't know that I could do certain gaming. Like some people, actually a lot of people it seems, need to see it in order to play it.
It depends.
Yeah, I mean, like if there's an event that includes the party of like maybe three or four people, and like maybe 5 enemies tops, and some like a doorway or a bridge or something, that's fair enough for me. That I think personally that shouldn't be too hard to visualize as long as you have like some measurement or an idea of where you are. But it's when you have, I don't know, 5 or 6 players and maybe 8 or 9 or something enemies, and there's more, then there's numerous buildings and stuff, then it's just too much. Actually, speaking of Pathfinder, I've been trying. I when I saw that you put up, that's the thingy that Gangrene might be looking for another member. I know I wouldn't actually be able to join because of the time zones and stuff, but I decided to see how just for the sake of the exercise, how would I create a character for that? And so I googled up for character creator for Pathfinder. I tried like 4 different ones, and each one either had or lacked options that the others didn't. So I'm like, well, which one is correct? What is the actual system? Which one is incomplete? Which one has things that are like not official? I've been trying. I don't actually have the Pathfinder books and stuff, and I haven't actually looked at the official material yet. But that was just something that struck me. That wow, there's not that much uniformity here.
What are you using?
Am I feeding back?
Nope.
Testing. No, you're not.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Welcome. We talked about a few things, but it's kind of an open forum for anything tabletop or...
I just got home from work and saw this was on and went, hey, I'll go talk to my guy.
Got it. So far we've addressed don't get dry ice in your eyes, casting charm person on a fellow party member, divvying up loot, simulator, and other online digital things. What's going on in your gaming world?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm an old school 3.5 player. Let me rephrase that. I introduced my sons to 3.5 in the Living Greyhawk era.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We played a lot of cons, and they really loved it. Great tacticians who surprised a lot of adults. Now, as adults, I'm getting ready to... I'm building what is often called a mud for my grandchildren. And at Christmas, when my sons were here, they saw what I was doing and said, no. We want to play now. So now I've got a 23 and a 25-year-old and my wife and the girlfriend and the friend. So I got 6 players already. And we're playing on Venus. It's 1 million years in the future. And a super being has Venera-formed it because there are no humans there. And I'm basically running D&D 5 based on your recommendation. I did buy the Pathfinder book, but I realized for a grouping that's going to get together maybe 4 times a year, too many weeds in Pathfinder for that grouping. But my mud is system independent. So if I wanted to sit down with the Drunken and Dragons guy and play Dungeon World, which seems to be his current hot button, why not? I don't care about systems so much as world building.
Music to my ears.
And,
I might ask, what's a mud?
Oh, sorry, massive upfront development. In other words, I'm going to spend years developing stuff that people may never use. It's the worst, dumbest thing you should do as a DM, but I do it because I actually enjoy it.
That's the most important, isn't it?
Basic rule: if you enjoy it, it's not stupid.
Yeah, I think it can.
I can think of a couple things that I would still classify as stupid, but
they are fun.
Yeah, it's like one of those. I think the original version of the rule is that if it seems stupid but it works, it's not stupid.
Yeah. And in terms of DMing style, I fall somewhere between a rules lawyer. I'm not a rules lawyer, and I'm not a total hack guy like the Drunkens and Dragons guy. Like Hankrin, he'll just hack any system together. I did pick D&D 5 because it gives me the basis for what I need to build on. I will need to build some magic stuff. I'm not a fan of the concept that we came from a noble past and now we're somehow a dim reflection of the past. Never liked that trope. That's the one part of Lord of the Rings that always gave me stomach acid, right? Is like the elves are leaving, they're better, now it's humans' turn, and they're somewhat diminished. Don't want that in my world, right? I want my characters to feel like they could be the next Gandalf.
you want the general gist of the world to be that it's on the rise, not on the fall, so to speak.
Well, it's not dogmatically or axiomatically on the fall. It can go any way the characters want it to go. I put usually about 4-story, 5-story hooks in there and let them go, right? I've spoken way too long. You guys tell me. You guys do your stuff.
See, when it comes to me and system, I would like to not care which system it is. The problem is the only system that I feel I can really get a grasp on right now is 5e, 5e D&D, but yeah, I've been trying to look at Pathfinder and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff to try and get in, and I guess if I actually got to try and play it and had someone there to explain it to me, it might make sense. But I'm the kind of guy who I want to try and do my research, and it's hard.
Yeah, but you'd only need the Pathfinder core book, the one book. Learn it, and you're good to go. Because it's got, with the exception of the monsters, it's got everything in the one book. And he's not that different from 5, right?
I mean, I haven't.
I'm trying to be encouraging here.
Yeah, I understand. I guess I might not have given it enough time as well. It's just that when I feel like I could be trying to imagine big things in 5e or try and grasp the rules of Pathfinder, I feel like one of them is more appealing than the other. So my time is spent one way or the other, depending on how I feel.
I was trying to pick which system I was going to go with in the near term, and I watched a vlog by this guy with a beard who lives in Colorado Springs, and I decided to go with 5e. Look at his look. Yeah, I watched your vlog, and you basically were driving around with your daughter, Charisma, saying, you know what, I've kind of given up on Pathfinder for now. And I went, you know what, that's good enough for me, I'll switch to 5e.
You make videos, Andrew?
It's a side thing.
I thought I've seen you on the internet one time.
Yeah, it has. If you like customization, and Greg's right, you can do it off of just the book, the core rulebook, GMing stuff, and or hero stuff in the same place. The tricky part is that that's not the only thing out for Pathfinder right now. There's like 1,000 books out for Pathfinder right now, and unless your whole group is new, you're going to get a lot of people who are wholly unsatisfied with just the core experience, and will throw a fit if they can't do this XYZ from this thing and this forum and this thing and this thing. And that creates even more headache and work. It's great if you need something that says these are my options, like Victor talking about making the grappler, the strength monk. You can do that in Pathfinder, and Pathfinder is that. I mean, that's the base. Monks use strength, but then there's probably 80,000 splat books. Exactly, if you want to look through them all, you'll find exactly the thing that says this is what I want. You just spend 8 hours making the character and an hour for a round of combat, and
then it dies to a random crit, and you have
exactly. Then a goblin kills it.
Yeah. that's kind of
like Dark Souls.
Kind of not ideal to me, and it's not my focus. As I play with people who are really into the.
Your audio's gone.
Yeah, you do clip in and out a bit, Andrew.
Oh, as I play games that are more in, with people who are really into those numbers, I like it less and less. Just being with them, which is fine. They should play with people like them who will go through and argue, you have +1 from this, and you can't do that because it's a 10 feet thing, and then the rules say that if you shift over here, then you can't do this. Like, there are those gamers, and Pathfinder works really well for those gamers, and I don't enjoy that. But if you enjoy it, you should definitely look into Pathfinder because it has that in spades.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been recently, like last week or something, I watched through all of Fuss and Friends from beginning to end, and yeah, I just find it so it seems so liberating when you're like I'm sorry, I forget his name, his DM. I'm real sorry. I should have remembered this by now. I watched the whole damn thing.
Burke.
Burke, that's the name. That's the name. And
Don't worry, names are hard.
I'm great at remembering faces. I'm just terrible at remembering names. But yeah,
I'm the
it
exact
seems
same.
so it seems so liberating to me when you can just go, oh, how does this rule work? We'll say it works like this for now, and then we'll check in the book later, and you can just move on. Because like one of the main reasons why I didn't get into tabletop before 5e, besides the fact that I didn't have someone to explain it to me, was the fact that I didn't feel like I could grasp it. I didn't feel like it was. Yeah, I couldn't approach it because it was just so many numbers and names and stats.
It's really, we got to come down, and this is the big problem. If I cut out again, let me know. Big problem. The big stop it. Someone else say something while I fix this.
Yeah, Andrew is trying to fix something with his sound system, but let's see. I basically filling time, but yeah.
I found when it comes down to D&D, having initially played 3.5, that was my first system. That's one of the draws to the 3.5 and Pathfinder, the fact that there's 1,000 splat books out there. So there's a lot of people who just want the flavour, and it's not about stacking all the hundreds of different mechanics. So the fact that they could go on to some weird book and produce some crazy looking thing, like maybe they can go to Frostburn and get a snow elf, or maybe Sandstorm and get some sort of desert thing. It's just the access to the hundreds of different flavour options which really appeal to people. But the mechanics behind them, they're all really, it's very crunchy, so much so that it's just easier to do it in 5th edition. That's one thing I found. Pathfinder's got a lot of content, which is great, but it would just be better to get a Pathfinder thing up and then convert it to 5th edition and make it a lot simpler.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like
all the hundreds of +1s and stuff, and just add in advantage here and there.
Yeah, my personal approach when it comes to trying to create a Pathfinder character is like, I love all these options, but I wish this was actually a video game so it did all the numbers for me.
Exactly.
Yep. Was I saying something brilliant? It went away. Oh, Pathfinder. This is why the big problem in gaming generally is play Risk with people who like playing Risk. Don't play it with your friend who just is super bored after 5 minutes and doesn't think tactically. Don't play Pathfinder with people who don't enjoy the content of Pathfinder. So that clash is where all the real big problems happen. It's not anything wrong with the system, not anything wrong with the world. That's the wrong one for you. And I don't know why that isn't clear enough. Like, my group hates, I have such problems with my group, and it's so hard to play. And, well, you're all playing the wrong game. I mean, you're not playing what you should be playing together, or your styles are too different.
Yeah, that's actually a concern I have for this group thingy. I'm hoping to maybe at some point in the future do, because I'm the kind of person, I really like the idea of adding a whole lot of story and world building and all that. And I'm not sure how I haven't asked yet, but I don't know how my friends that I'd like to play with, how they feel about the idea of an entire session with no combat or something like that, or the idea of having very well developed recurring characters as opposed to just going to get your mission and going into the next dungeon. I don't know what their gaming style is like as much, because I've only played or seen them play a little bit, and that's a concern I actually have. But I'm planning to discuss it with them, and we'll see what they say.
that you in fact have the discussion is definitely a big part. Kyle, welcome.
How's it going?
We are talking about our gaming styles and preferences and systems and why you're not choosing Pathfinder over Dean 3.5 or 5th edition or whatnot.
I just actually got that Pathfinder starter kit in about 2 weeks ago. Took a flip through it.
I like the beginner's box a lot. I advertise it. Even if I don't love all of Pathfinder's mechanics, they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, it was through the Humble Bundle
Hmm.
deal they had last couple, I think maybe a month ago. It took a while to get here, but yeah, I thought it was worth what I paid for it.
It is tricky though. It is not. It goes up to level 5, and then many of the mechanics change. You got to be prepared for that.
Hmm.
But as far as an introduction to tabletop gaming, it's really good. I like
And it
it.
also came with a lot of additional PDFs and all that. See if I can't find them, pull them up, see what they actually were talking about.
I was planning to get that bundle, but I forgot to do it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that, and then I forgot to actually get it.
Like most Humble Bundles. Oh, this is really great. I wait until there's more. Oh, it's done.
You always get to it a couple hours late.
To me, it was more like, okay, I'm gonna get that, but I'll do it tomorrow. No like consideration of okay, there's gonna be more to it or whatever. It's just like I can't be bothered to bring out my credit card and fiddle with the numbers right now.
Yeah.
It's like what it kind of hit me in a time, because a lot of people ask me, why aren't you advertising it? Why are you, this came out in the video Greg mentioned of, I don't like Pathfinder at the moment. Also, I have all this stuff. So it kind of just passed over in my mind. But it seemed like a really great deal. It went really well.
And you had a concern if it was actually through Paizo or Paizo, and it apparently was. You had to go through their website, and their website was not the fastest.
No, yeah, I saw that for a little while, and I went to get something else unrelated.
Yeah, that happens when you got a bundle and a one specific place where everything has to go through. It tends to bottleneck. But yeah, there is the whole element of well, I mean, when it comes to games, they call it gray market keys, but I suppose it would be something else when it called something else when it comes to PDFs and book materials like this.
Gray market, I haven't heard that term.
Basically, it means that someone has purchased a version of like a CD key or a Steam key for a game in a country where the currency and values are different, so they can buy it cheaply and then sell it in like the US or other other mainland Central European countries for a higher price, and thus, because the pricing might be different in different regions, to make sure that the locals can actually afford to buy it.
Yeah.
And it's technically illegal to do that, but certain websites will do this en masse and sell the keys on.
That's why.
Sounds like scalping to me.
If I may, just to clarify, the term black market means illegal. Technically, the term gray market means falls in between the law. So if they're doing it dead illegal, that's technically not gray market. Gray market means you found wiggle room in the intellectual property laws, and that's where you're selling it.
I don't think it's technically illegal to do, but a lot of places have prevented it, like Steam region locks things now to where you can't use, say, like a Russian key or a European key. You have to use a U.S. key.
Yeah, I was responding more to Andrew not having heard the term. Right.
My only reflection on the term was that was what it meant. But when you say that, yeah, that's probably true. And I mean, the efforts to prevent it is most likely done mainly by the companies that make the products and the games. Yeah. So not necessarily the actions of any sort of legal group.
As a shift and a topic, I thought it just came to mind. What is the game or game setting that you'd most like to play that you've never played? Like that's different than what you're normally playing.
What do you mean in terms of like tabletop, or do you
Yeah,
just gaming?
tabletop. Like as an example, I'd really love to play Shadowrun, but
Ooh.
its system is kind of overwhelming me. But I love the setting and I love the lore and all that. That would be something I'd really enjoy playing in.
Oh, I would love to play in the Metro 2033 universe.
Ooh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Andrew, let me ask you about the Shadowrun universe. My understanding is that the whole mythology is built around hating North American aboriginals, like Indians. Is that accurate?
I don't know about hating them, but there's definitely like a resurgence. The broad strokes is magic comes back into modern world.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then the native tribes, the Native Americans, are more attuned to it, so they like retake America is part of it. And there's like megacorps too. I don't know much more than that.
Okay, because I've been following Dan Harmon's podcast, and he plays Shadowrun a lot. Right at the end of his podcast, they just hand out character sheets. The GM, who was a civilian who got invited up on the first podcast to help them play D&D, and he's been part of the crew ever since and has a day job now working for one of the best writers in Hollywood. Go figure. But they switched from D&D to Shadowrun, so I know a little bit about it. And then I found out about this quirk about about North American Indians, and I'm not sure I want to introduce that to my grandchildren.
Yeah, it's definitely an alternate history kind of thing, but I don't know that I've encountered it being pro or anti.
So it's not, you haven't noticed flat out racism.
Well, I mean, they don't like orcs, elves don't like orcs, and like there's fantasy racism, but I haven't seen.
Yeah, but elves and orcs hating each other's guts is one thing. A presumably Caucasian person in 2076 hating a native bothers me.
For good reasons, I'd say.
Yeah, I would think, eh?
Yeah, but I guess. But if you
Oh
can
no,
keep it all
I don't
fantasy,
understand that at all.
if you can separate it as fantasy, I don't see much of a problem with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, when it bleeds too much, it bothers me.
Yeah. Like, I can play Bioshock Infinite and not see it as like, oh, that's terrible. But I can understand it is terrible, but I don't try to emulate it in any sense. I can appreciate it for what they're trying to paint, what they're trying to bring to light.
Yeah, I mean, like that's also an element of what kind of an attitude you have in your gaming group. Like me among my friends, and this is not necessarily my gaming group, but me and my friends, we really don't care whether people curse a lot. We just sort of do it and whatever. But I've been trying to get used to not doing it because other people aren't as okay with people using random and surprisingly detailed curse words at various occasions. And I mean, like, there's some sort of a thematic similarity there in that you need to be able to figure out where the line goes in the relevant situation and the relevant group of people, and whether this thing is going to be put up on the internet for everyone to see and complain about.
Bingo. Yep. Even Chris Rock, a famous North American comedian, you may have heard of him, hates playing colleges and universities now because the students have such thin skins that he can't make any jokes.
Oh yeah, what is that? Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld can't do the same. And he's wow, like he's one of the most PC, I'd say PC, but clean comedians I've ever heard. And he won't do it either.
And they're getting pinched. Like Chris Rock says, you can't even be offensive on the way to being inoffensive.
Yeah, I mean, like there's been cases where like Jerry Seinfeld, he likes to pull jokes occasionally where he is implying some sort of racism on his part, and then he reverses the whole thing at the end. But he can't even get there before people boo him off stage at those points.
Oh, you
can't even start saying the joke.
Yeah. Oh no, you've triggered me. I don't want to hear any more.
Okay, yeah. Andrew, get a hold of this chat.
I said, what system do you guys want to play? And it turned into racism.
As it naturally does.
Andrew, you need to put that on a shirt and sell it.
Should be on the That's So Racist shirt.
Let me rephrase my concern about Shadowrun from racism to too many dice. The dice pooling system will drive you crazy.
Oh yes, it's like, I have this, and now I have 30 dice to roll.
They are all D6s, which is helpful, or D10s, depending. But I found that I loved Shadowrun Returns on the computer game, and just like someone said, or I think Victor said earlier, I would love and the Pathfinder Online game is awful, but I'd love for a version of a rules-heavy game translated over and let those rules, let those mechanics and numbers be done automatically, because it bogs things down so much in the interpersonal experience. Expedite all that for me, then I can enjoy the storytelling aspect, which is what is most interesting to me.
There's a video game I saw.
No, go ahead.
A video game I saw advertised a while ago. I think it's been cancelled now because they've dissolved the studio, but it was called Fable Legends.
Oh.
That looked basically like a D&D Pathfinder game as a video game. It's like asynchronous multiplayer, so you've got one person playing the DM, and then everyone else is playing players, and then the DM's making these dungeons that they can go through and putting all monsters out. That looked like they're brilliant.
Whereas already something like this already exists. It's called Dungeonland.
Yeah, I've got that too. Yeah.
I played that once against the PC because all my friends were like, "Yeah, we gotta buy it." I bought it. Oh no, we don't gotta buy it. And I'm just, hey, I'm the only one who has this.
I know that feeling.
I got it. I got that at a Humble Bundle because I've got like 500 games now from that, and I need to stop. It's an addiction.
One more game.
Going back to the whole dice thingy, I feel that a good measurement is if you take all the dice you need to roll in any given turn and put them all in a plastic bag, and then you ask yourself, could I beat someone over the head with this and have them get physically injured to the point where they need the hospital? And if the answer is yes, that's too many dice.
Well, that could be how strong you are. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's not a scientific equation, but it's one that's what served me well, I suppose.
I've played a lot of rogues that would kill people.
Against orcs.
If I'm a half orc and I roll an 18, I mean...
Basically dead.
So I guess I got a hole in my wall. I need a contractor.
Oh yeah, you could also go for the one if you tie the bag tightly and throw it at the wall, would it leave a dent?
Yeah.
Assuming you have like gypsum walls or something. And assuming you do not care for the resale value of your house.
But it looks cool when I throw it.
The dice wall.
I kind of want to see what Pathfinder's all about once I get a chance. I got my older brother who might want to take a look at it when I get that starter set. So that's the one I'm looking forward to playing.
I had just had a brilliant interior design idea. You take a wall, you cover it in gypsum, and then you put in various dice with various numbers on it of, very like D4s, D6s, D8s, D12s, and everything, and then you have like the dice wall.
Well, then people are going to power game. It's going to just be like all like 4s, 6s, 8s, 20s.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true. If I were to make such a wall, I would first have 4 D4s and have them go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'd have to go for the D6s and have 1 through 6. I'm too obsessive for that. It was an idea, but I wouldn't be able to pull it off in practice.
So
unless
how
you
exactly
literally
does this?
Distance and throw the dice at the plaster.
Yeah, how exactly does this dice wall work? Just get like an air cannon and load the dice into it and launch them at the wall, and then whichever numbers that you can see, that's what your dice rolled.
You could do that with like
them out when you need to reuse them.
You could do that in one of those the air blasters, and then shoot it into maybe some clay and fire that. See how that looks.
I feel like I've somehow derailed us away from tabletop again. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
Victor.
think that was whoever brought up the concept of smashing people over the head with dice who derailed that. Actually,
I don't know who did
I'm
that
sorry.
one.
Hey, my local gaming store sells airsoft guns on half the real estate. So he's got to make coin, right? He says to me, to my face, tabletop gamers are cheap. He's into card players and collectible doodles and airsoft.
Yeah, well, they do
True.
stuff.
If you pen and paper, you buy your book and that's it, or maybe like an expansion book. But
Well,
yeah,
if you're
most
into,
games
if you're into
most don't make
Pathfinder,
your
you
money.
can buy an infinite number of splats.
Yeah, but it's not like Magic cards where every edition you buy like 500 packs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also if you really wanted to, you get all the information online. It's not like it's hidden from you.
Yeah. No, they love card gamers, right?
Yeah.
That's a deadly addiction. I will say that I learned the first time I ever learned what overdraft or overdrawing meant was when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was 16 or something. I had a bank account and I wanted Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, and I didn't put the limit together at that point.
They can get expensive, yeah. I remember that.
See, I really like Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've only ever played it in digital forms on handheld games and such. And so you only pay one sum, and you have to like earn the cards in the game. And that way, I could maintain my economy.
It's way cheaper.
The same reason I've avoided like wargaming and Warhammer and X-Wing and minifig stuff. It's just such a big investment.
Me and my brother tried the whole like
guilty pleasures.
Games Workshop wants you to be poor.
Yes. I like the shirt. Games Workshop. Drugs would be cheaper.
Yeah.
This one, me and my brother both bought for like 10 years ago or something.
Ooh,
And,
I think somewhere has the box too.
Yeah, and we tried building up all the models and stuff. Yeah, I could never be satisfied with the models. Yeah, and if you paint it and it gets messed up, it's a nightmare to try and get the paint off and try to redo it. Yeah,
You got to get the paint right the first time.
And I don't have the finesse to get it right the first time or the second.
It'll take practice. You will develop it. You'll develop it.
Yeah, but I don't want. But see, this is one of the reasons why in video games This is one of the reasons why in video games I try to avoid using cheats, because I want when I have the option, I want to get things perfectly aligned, so to speak. I want, and I mean, when I get the first one, I want my first one to be something I can feel proud over, and if it doesn't look like it did on the box, I'm not proud of it.
You appreciate that Picasso started off pretty crappy. It took him a while to get good.
I know.
Okay, good.
But the thing is, I need to be free of a frame of reference of what is good and what is bad. Then I can just go nuts with it.
That's what a workshop's for.
Oh yes.
Andrew, when you play over the tabletop, do you use any 3D elements, or is it all theater of the mind mostly, or is it like drawing? I've noticed you're interested in these this new plastic overlay.
Yeah, when I play in person, I rarely play in person these days. There's just so many games online.
Right.
But when I play in person, I've found, for the longest time, I used just a Chessex dry erase mat. And then I switched over to a dry erase just whiteboard without a grid, but we'd still move stuff around and I could draw the room up. I really liked these Tile of Adventuring, which I actually loaned, so I can't hold up one, combined with printing out a map. And I lay this underneath it. So something like this. It's a couple bucks investment, but wow, does it look really great.
Yeah, you can do a lot with it.
It's a fine balance between theater of the mind, which if I play locally, it's from either at Pathfinder Society, which needs tactical stuff, or I've been doing a once a month playing with middle schoolers and high schoolers at a local high school here as kind of an outreach thing, and they really need they don't do theater of the mind. So I have the physical things for them to look at and interact with.
Just wait a little bit longer. We'll have VR.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the telephone industry, and man, Samsung and LG both have VR built into their new phones. Forget 4K. VR is the new shizzle.
Well, if it's anything like Tabletop Simulator, I'm not going to be impressed. We already went over that. We looked at that in Roll20 earlier.
Yeah, but that quick comment on the VR thing. Yeah, VR has a lot of potential, but people need the like developers and such need to figure out how to actually do use the most of the medium, so to speak, and know what to do with it. I mean, a lot of the early stuff is just like a visual gallery, it's like an art gallery or something, or a beach, and they don't have any real ideas yet.
Yeah.
There's lots of potential that just needs to be figured out by people who don't just want to make something quick.
Not to mention that people who invent it need to provide a toolbox that developers can work with easily.
About to say that's going to be super tricky. Like if there's a VR D&D, I have to learn programming or something to be able to use that. It's got to have some real nice tools.
Bingo.
Yeah, that or you'll have to just use pre-made stuff.
Yeah, the user experience must be simple.
You saw how I couldn't put the blocks together on that thing. Just imagine having to create an entire 3D landscape and in 3D monster rendering, or like where am I going to get that? It's going to be super expensive. Or
I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that with clay. You wouldn't, and so you wouldn't want to try and build your own thing. But yeah.
When Microsoft was showing off their VR thing, I think it was called HoloLens, they had Minecraft. That was the thing they were showing off with it, and that just appeared on the table in front of them when they were doing it. Something like that should be as easy to use. That'd be great to build maps on.
Yeah.
However, there's a reason why they picked Minecraft.
Because they own it.
Well, aside from that, and it's called fidelity.
Bingo. Low fidelity, high concept.
Mm.
Actually, I've actually played I think 3.5 through Minecraft. Worked okay.
At that point, I would rather just imagine it, because I can imagine better than those graphics. Come on.
Yeah, but at that point, that was even before I think Roll20 was out or anything like that, so we had no idea how we were even going to set it up. It was just nice for the area. It made moving around easy too.
Another thing to consider, of course, is that if the artists who typically render females in the genres we're used to looking at continue to create artwork in VR, it's essentially going to be pornographic.
It's already.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I look at the way female elf bards look, because I want to give a picture to my wife, and I'm going, wow, since when do female elf bards never get cold?
Yeah, actually, that's natural resistance. As a person who lives in Scandinavia, I can immediately say that is one of the main things that bother me about female armor in games. And especially if I take one example that specifically infuriated me was on World of Warcraft, when there was the winter costumes and the female one would literally just had a shirt, had a skirt, socks, and a shirt.
Yep.
You're gonna get frostbite.
What, in Scandinavia don't run around like this? You destroyed my complete worldview. Thank you.
This is great.
It protects all it needs to protect.
We have a Scandinavian and a Canadian who can have snow wars. Although up in the peaks there, Andrew, gets pretty good snow. I've been to Colorado up high there. It gets pretty cold in the winter.
Yeah, we had a nice couple weeks of snow here and there. Colorado's weird though, not consistent.
It was a warm winter this year.
I used to work for Hewlett Packard, so I used to land in Denver and then work out of either Loveland or Fort Collins. Right? So that's kind of the other direction from where you are.
Yeah, those are the northern side, but still, it gets snow. We miss snow greatly in Arizona. There, but it's too far away. I don't like to be in it. I just like to look at it.
As I say, we get a lot of snow over here in England when it's really cold, but we get more slush, which is really annoying. Snow's fine when it's lovely and crunchy and it looks really great, and you can still get a bit of traction in it. But then half a day later, it's just horrible melted slush that gets everywhere, and it's impossible to walk on.
I'll trade you my 3 to 5 feet. You can have my 3 to 5 feet of snow.
Oh, that's fine. I'm 6.5 feet tall. I can wade through that easily.
Yeah.
Another thing about the UK and such handling snow, you just don't know how to deal with it. You have like nothing for it over here. Like at a certain point of the year, you are legally obligated to have tires specifically made for winter to handle winter environments. If you are caught not having them between certain dates of the year, you are fined.
So that's a plan. That makes sense. Over here, all we've got is gritters. Every now and again, if it gets bad enough, they'll send out a truck to spray grit over the road.
Yes, they do that here as well, and they use salts as well at certain times when it's really bad.
Hey, apparently you can own a flamethrower now in my state. It's kind of nice. That'll save some time. Cut it down.
Yeah. See, the problem with using a flamethrower is, well, there's mainly two things. Actually, there's three. One, there's a reason why we don't use flamethrowers and stuff on like the snow plows and such, because in energy-wise, you expend a lot more power trying to melt ice than you do to just, push it to the side of the road.
Yeah.
And then there's the element of you have to fuel the thing, and then there's the element of you have to make sure you do not burn your neighborhood down.
But it looks cool, though.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of the day,
missing
you
the
just
cool
left with
factor.
slush.
Yeah, and you need to deal with
Actually,
all
the warm factor. Sorry, the hot factor.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, if I didn't mention it already, I got dental surgery earlier today. My mouth is just getting unnumbed, but it is aching a bit. And we're just about the time I had planned here, since I have a run a game later in the evening. I'm fine if you guys keep chatting. That's totally fine with me. But I need to go put something on this.
Go get it fixed, babe. Thanks for helping out.
I got some pliers. We can just pull it out.
There, we don't need to do that just yet. We're okay. Unless you have a bag of a Percocet or something to go along with your pliers. I think.
Ooh, I might.
That's a good drug.
I'm ready.
Uh-oh. Well,
those won't work well. You need something with better grip than needle nose.
I think that's my cue to depart as they plot to evict teeth violently from my mouth.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Just when
Andrew.
it starts to getting fun.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to go make dinner.
I'll talk to you guys again soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good on you, everyone.
Breakfast.